From dating to relationships, from sex to love, from Christianity to politics, from darkness to light, you have now entered into the real zone. Welcome to Conversations with Trent, where no topic of conversation is safe from discussion. Now, here he is, Mr. Epic himself, Trent Williams.
What's going on? What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another podcast with Conversation with Trent and Friends. We're talking about unrealistic expectations. What's on your list? Actually, Dee brought this up on the latter part of the show, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and got to thinking about it again, like always, and talking about unrealistic things. Think about it. What's on your list? You always hear these folks, male and female, talking about what you have to have, what you have to do, coming into the relationship. But I don't want to just focus on a romantic relationship. I actually want to talk about business partners and the expectations, friendships, family members, all the above. But we'll get down to the relationship part. We'll have some fun with that. Let's bring Dee in. One sec. Hey. What's going on with you? What's going on?
Not much. I'm just trying to get my cables plugged in here so I don't lose power on my laptop.
How's it going? How's it going over there?
It's going good. It was an organizing weekend, so trying to get some things reorganized, bought some new furniture.
Good stuff. Looked like it's you and I tonight. Shannon was working last week, the latter part of last week, over in New York, and got a little sick. So she got a little bug going on.
Oh no! Well, I hope she's feeling better quickly.
Yeah. I think she got the little flu bug or something during her travel. So yeah, she'll be back. So let's dig into this topic here: unrealistic expectation. What's on your list? Now I knew what your thought process was when you and Shannon was having a conversation about women making these lists up of the things that they need and want from a relationship of a man or whatever they partner, whatever. But I got to thinking, I was like, you know what? Let's throw the relationship in there. We'll have fun with that. But let's talk about expectations, period. From friendships, from business partners, from family members, all that good stuff. I wrote a couple of tidbits out and all that good stuff. But we'll start with the relationship part.
Okay.
Why is it that we place these expectations on folks, hoping that we can get the best out of why? It's got to be a deeper problem.
I don't know I don't know if the word expectation is. It's more about boundaries and what people are preferring.
Gotcha.
For when it comes to lists, I think I prefer the word preference versus expectation, because you can't have an expectation of somebody 6'2". It's a very finite. Like you either are or you're not. Right?
Exactly.
So I think when I look at lists, and I was actually talking about this the other day with somebody, and he said, well, I want her to be my piece. I'm like, only men who bring the BS need somebody to bring their piece. Because if you
already have it.
You already have peace. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, if you're saying she needs to be your piece, what BS are you bringing that she needs to ignore and dismiss and pretend's not happening?
Exactly. Before we dig into this topic, let's say hi to the folks. I see you, General Giant. I see you, Slash. Hey, Martin, what's going on? My favorite Detroiter. Good stuff. Shannon's not with us tonight. Shannon's got a little flu bug going on, so she'll be out for a week or so. But good stuff. So, yeah, we talk about the unrealistic. Let's just say unrealistic. Mm-hmm. All these things that we place on them. There's a root cause to all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Unrealistic expectations can happen in so many ways. Perhaps we look to others or to ourselves for validation. We make assumptions, expect change to be instant, or maybe we assign our own belief. That's one of my problems right there. Assign our own belief system to others and are disappointed when they act a certain way, when they act the way that you expect them to act. I've always had a problem with that. I had to work on that because everybody's not going to be where you are in that moment. Everyone's not going to be there. So
yeah. The other thing is you can't expect you behaviors from other people. Like you can't say, well, I would do this. Well, they're not you. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, Martine says I'd like to say what I prefer or what I'd like. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
So the thing is, you can have lists, but if your lists are so regulated that there's no waiver room,
exactly,
there's something wrong. They're like,
and that's what I'm talking about.
That? Yeah, what's the issue behind that?
Exactly. Again, like I said, unrealistic expectations include things like wanting your partner to change their values, be the source of all your happiness, and or go against their natural masculinity or femininity. I've seen it before.
Yeah, the last one, that's heteronormative patriarchal BS.
I got you, but I've seen it before though, Dee.
It only exists in male-female relationships. In male
exactly.
It's so the whole masculine. Well, you're too masculine as a woman. I'm like, really? You're just intimidated because you can't control both your sides. You can be balanced.
Sometimes but you have seen that before, though, right?
What?
You have seen that before in folks, right?
What do you mean?
You them actually respond like, "Oh, she's too masculine."
Oh yeah, I got people tell me that. I'm like, why? He goes, "Well, you're too logical. That's a man thing." Like, because I have an IQ. Like,
right.
But that's some people for their women pretty and stupid.
I get it.
That is part of their list. So it's.
What do you think about this list when you see these women come up with these? They got to be 6'5", 225 pounds, very lean. Chuck it up the block weighing 300, but he's in love with her.
Yeah, it's very limiting. So and there's the problem with lists. Lists should be a general. These are the must-haves and what are deal breakers.
Right.
That's what should be on the list. And your list should be more about honesty, integrity, emotional intelligence, loyalty, respect, those things, versus hazel eyes and full lips and stuff like that. You might find the perfect guy, and he might have the deepest brown eyes and red hair, and none of it's on your list, right? So I find lists that are very physical to be very limiting. Like, sure, you can have a preference, but if you're only looking at that very specific group, then that very specific group is going to get very, very tiny, very, very quickly.
Exactly. So, Brittany, thanks for the alley-oop. Let's talk about the false expectations that ruin most stable relationships or business relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want a long-lasting, peaceful relationship or partnership, respect others and respect people and their risk tolerance.
Yeah.
As far as in business, I had a problem with that. I had a lot of problem with that years ago, even with my brothers and friends who actually I went into business with. I always wanted someone to match my energy.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to realize that everybody's not at the same realm at the same time. So I lowered my expectations of folks. Even when I go into business with them now, I don't even worry about it. It's like, hey, catch up. If you catch up, if you don't, you don't. I'm still moving them.
Yeah.
But I've always had a problem with that. I struggle with that. And that's why a lot of those business relationships didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
Throwing tons of money into those relationships, wasting a whole bunch of money because I was vested, both sides, financially and all me in. I'm all in.
Yeah.
And get irritated when folks don't pick up, what we agreed upon.
Right.
But that was me actually expecting them to match my energy.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't, you can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You're going to meet folks at different levels of life.
Yeah. There's communication needs to be high on the list.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me get to some comments.
Okay.
Martine says, I know women who actually have a list and the guys are expected to have a check mark by all of the demands. And I most certainly want my man to be in love with me. One I'm at ease with, smart, witty, honest, and taking care of himself. Clean teeth, breath, fresh, crispy, as far as hygiene, and good. AWS, what's that?
I'm sure she'll explain.
I'm not sure what the last one is.
Gotcha. Mark says,
oh, God. Princess Coach Dee, are you referring to alpha independent women? If a man or woman doesn't rock with somebody's energy and vibe, it is what it is. There are many women that say they dislike beta men. All right. There's no such thing as an alpha or a beta. Let's just get that straight out there right off the bat. The whole alpha and beta was debunked by the guy who invented it, because when he looked at the wolves, he actually looked at family pods. There's a male and female in charge because those are the parents of the other wolves. That's the alpha beta. The only time there's alphas in science in the mammal world is actually chickens, and the female, that's the alpha. So the whole alpha beta thing, throw that out, because there's no such thing.
I knew it was too good to be good. I knew it was too good to be true that you were going to be in line with Mark tonight. So
it doesn't exist, man. People talk about, oh, they're alphas, they're betas. I'm like, no. People do things differently. Alpha means everybody has to fit into one particular box, and anybody who doesn't fit into that box is a beta. That's not how people work. We're all very individualistic. Our brains work in different ways. You know, you like, oh, yeah. Alpha, don't even talk to me about the alpha beta thing. The hyper masculine, ultra independent alpha is a trauma response. Hypervigilance, hyperindependence is a trauma response, plain and simple. So if anybody tells me their alpha male doesn't need anything, I automatically know there's trauma in their background.
Dig a little deeper.
Yeah, because if in order to be the whole, I don't need anybody, something has happened where you didn't get what you needed when you were younger. Mm-hmm. So this is where this whole alpha, beta, if you actually look at them and you start digging deep into what those people are saying, you can see the trauma. You can literally see it in the responses that they're giving people, right? Ultra aggressive. They'll beat around the bush. They don't come with firm answers. Yeah. No. It's like when we talk about that stuff, yeah. People, the whole problem with independent women is women have been forced to take care of themselves because they didn't have men who were supporting them. They didn't have mothers who were supporting them or fathers who were supporting them, and they had to do it themselves. That's why they're ultra independent, because they could never rely on anybody else.
Well, let's dig a little deep into the expectation and why I say that you should always focus that on yourself. Don't limit yourself with your life's goals. Actually, your expectations on yourself should supersede anything on yourself. On yourself, for example, right? Think about this. Oftentimes we talk about ourselves and how we want to succeed, all this other good stuff and whatnot. But in reality, what determines that is how you actually feel about it, your expectations on yourself. Yeah. Think about it. If you don't believe you'll succeed, you probably most likely you won't.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't. And so honest, go ahead.
And we're a result of the people we have around us. So if we surround ourselves with people who are always negative thinking and not working towards getting better, then we always stay in the same spot. If you surround yourself with people who are moving forward, you'll move forward as well.
Exactly. And this is why the reason why I use the word, I play with words all the time. When I say expectation, I know a ton of you guys are going to be like, I just want to change it, especially you. Let's just replace that word. I know, because you know I play with words.
Yeah, but expectation is more of a behavior, not a prerequisite.
Because I truly believe that, and the reason why I use expectations, because they're only reasons why we do the things that we do. It's just like for me, for example, like anything dealing with, like I said, when I was reading up on this stuff, and I was thinking about my past relationships, past business partners, all this stuff, and I was like, dang, I was really placing them on a different level.
Yeah.
Not realizing that I wanted them to be on my level, they weren't there.
Yeah.
they were not there, and I shouldn't have expected them to be at the level and the thought process that I am, whatever we're working on, whatever deal we're working on, whatever business deal we're in.
Yeah.
But I'm all in. Once I sell myself on a situation, I'm all in. I'm going in.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't, just put that type of pressure on either with my brothers or anyone else.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have put that type of pressure. But that was only reason why I was doing that. It's the trust thing. Like, hey, I don't trust you to do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it myself.
Yeah. So you shouldn't be doing business with people you don't trust.
Exactly. We live and we learn. We live and we learn.
So it's my team put up a part of her list. Not materialistic. It's like find things and we'll look for a sale. Good with money. Yeah. What did Mark say? Oh, one more comment from Martine. Yeah, she's referring to the alphas. They're messing the head. They claim to be alpha. Can you bring up Mark's comment? I can't bring up the comments. I can only read from the side.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
That's the worrying. People compare themselves. People choose to put themselves into these boxes, expressed in movies, TV, social media, and TED Talks, discussed on red tables and talk shows. Yeah, you're right.
I totally agree.
People, there's this thing where people like to say that they don't like labels. People like labels as long as the labels are positive. But here's the thing: people like to
dig a little deeper.
People like ego. It's ego. People don't mind boxes as long as the box that they put themselves in is one that they can benefit from. So a person who is hurting, who has trauma, who has not resolved the trauma, doesn't want to go to therapy, would rather put themselves in a box where they think the other people in the box are strong. But the problem is, 9 times out of 10, the chances are higher that the people in that box are all doing the same thing. They're all in the box because they think the other people are strong. And that's like people tell you, the strongest man in the room will never tell you he's the strongest man in the room.
Not at all.
You know? The smartest person in the room will never tell you they're the smartest person in the room. They'll be looking for the people that they think are smarter.
It's funny that you said. I wrote a quote today, and I actually published it today. I talked about the quietest man in the room. The most quiet man in the room speaks the loudest. Yeah, totally agree. But let's talk about the when we place this list, and we talking about male and female. When we place these lists and all these things of this is what you have to have, this is what I want, this is what I need. There has to be some type of insecurity attached to some of that. Depending on what's in the list, what you say?
Yeah, well, remember we talked a couple of weeks ago about needing external validation versus internal validation. That's like the person who will cheat and go from partner to partner to partner because it's easier to switch partners than it is to change yourself. Exactly. So when people are putting lists out, when you're making a list, look closely at the list and what you're looking for. Because if it's very shallow, maybe there's some insecurities or unworthiness thing that's coming up. Maybe there's a self-esteem issue that's hiding behind a lot of outspoken boldness.
And here's the problem with that. Most people won't look into the mirror like that. I never thought about it like that, dude. We say, hey, look a little deeper into your list.
Yeah.
Your list is going to tell you everything about you.
Yeah. People think the list is about the other person, but it's not. Everything that you put in list, when you look at the list and think about stuff that you think is missing and you want that other person to fill. That's where a lot of people put their list versus what they want that other person to be.
Exactly.
They're talking about
it's going to take a lot of chisel work, though, dude. That's going to take a lot of chisel work.
Yeah.
If they're actually going through the list that they've created for the other person that's entering their life, it's going to take a lot of chisel work.
Yeah.
I never thought about that like that. Look at the list and look at the items that you actually written down.
Yeah. So Martine says, I'm one who's logical. I would like a decent man, one who's bring joy into my life, a friend and lover, cool, has a sense of humor, a dope. I can't use that word, I think. Nicely dressed, well-spoken, non-smoker, cool as F. good looking according to my word, and one who can smell his scent and sleep peacefully next to him. Yeah,
That's a normal list. That's it. It's a
pretty
normal
normal.
list.
And then Mark says the unrealistic expectations have turned up and used as a weeding out process, setting the standards so high that they could reach them in business, relationships, marriage, and lifestyle. Listen, I'll be honest with you. Most standards out there are the bar for men is pretty low. It's pretty low.
Dig a little deeper. You can't just throw it out there and say that.
Well,
You're a mess.
listen, man, it's you basically if you have a job and can read a book and like speak in whole sentences, you can pretty much find a woman. You know what I mean? It is what it is. The bar is a lot higher for women. But here's the thing, and we need to have a conversation about weaponizing competence. It's a whole other conversation.
I like that.
But the problem
Go
is
ahead.
society has these arbitrary bases of what people should look like at certain ages, what relationships should look like. And when you look
Right.
at movies and everything, relationships are very toxic in TV shows
True.
and in movies and in books. There's not a lot of healthy relationships out there that people can model from. So it's interesting to see what I've talked to people about lists, what's on their list.
Right.
And it's interesting to see how many people haven't done their work on themselves, yet make all these lists up of what the other person should be doing and being when they can't be and do the same thing.
Right.
Okay? If you want somebody who can communicate, you need to be able to communicate as well.
I jotted down some tidbits on examples for unrealistic expectations. Number one, at work, it's a common belief that throwing yourself into something will yield. I'm sorry, one more time. At work, it's common belief that throwing yourself into something will yield positive results. Number two, in social situations, some people hold the belief that as long as they're kind, people will like them. Wrong. Completely wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Completely wrong. There's a couple of them. We'll go through throughout the show. We'll just add them in there. But I think let's talk about that. A lot of folks think that, though, in social circles and social situations, that if they're kind to folks, they're going to like them.
Yeah. But
That's not the case.
it's not the case, but not everybody not everybody's required to like you.
Exactly.
It's not everybody are going to be your people.
And you got to be okay with that, though. You can't, and as again, that goes that word expectations. Folks liking you just because you're kind to them. It's a mean word.
That's more of people pleasing. That's another. There's something going on that happened. That why are you people pleasing? Why? Where in your past was what you were doing not good enough for somebody?
Exactly.
So that's a boundary issue. And people are like, Dee, why do you see trauma in everything? I'm like, because it is in everything. Most of the people have not gotten through adulthood, definitely not to 51 without some sort of trauma.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. And I have to say this again. When I was looking at the back end numbers, as we transition over to the platform, and guess what the highest rated show of all the shows we've done?
Which
one? The very first Generational Trauma.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Very high numbers. And it's across the board, across the country. Because, on the back end, it shows me where it's from, who did it, what device, all this other stuff. And the number's extremely high.
Yeah.
So apparently, you're right with that. As far as you talk about everything, comes from some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, it would never be high like that.
People like to hear about trauma and learn about trauma, but they don't like to discuss their trauma.
Exactly.
So, and there's a lot of societal and cultural reasons behind that. But when it comes to relationships, by the time you hit our age, you've been in many relationships. Most people, whether it's a business relationship, a school relationship, a work relationship, or a romantic relationship, they're all relationships of one type, and that involve other people, where you have to be communicative and not necessarily everybody will get along. So I was talking to a male friend the other day, and he goes like, "Well, you put me in the friend zone." I'm like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, does that mean you would never date me?" I'm like, "Do you know what it's like for a woman to hear that you're only her friend because you want to sleep with her? That's not a friend."
Wow.
And he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." I'm like, "Yeah, think about that." He's like, men know how to be friends with other men. Very few of them know how to be friends with women.
Very few.
You know what I mean? Like you guys, you will go to an entire you go to a basketball court and play pickup basketball for hours, form complete teams. These teams will move on to different games without an issue. But to talk to a woman and be your friend, you can't do that. It's interesting. Another conversation we need to have too.
There it is.
It's
I got a couple comments on this.
oh, 1 second. Unrealistic expectations like these interfere with our ability to pursue what matters in life. UE are rigid. Oh, okay. They don't leave room for changing circumstances or allow us to or others to be flexible. That's true.
Exactly. That's true. Martine says.
Martine says it's not natural for everyone to get along. You're right. Not
That's
everybody.
true.
And her next comment is not even family members. I'm like, listen, I am all for normalizing ignoring toxic family members.
Exactly.
And there are family members who are harmful, who will remain harmful to the end of their days. And,
When you truly reach another realm in life, and you move towards something totally different when your expectations on family members, especially family members, and all those one-sided relationships are behind you.
yeah,
It's a different type of life, man. It's a different type of peace. It's a different type of everything, different type of zen, everything. When you actually just cut that word completely out, like, I'm not expecting anything.
yeah.
Especially the situation that I came from. I don't expect nothing from no one at all.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody. They're like, "Well, women are so hard to get to know now." I'm like, "No, they're not hard to get to know. The problem is you're bringing bullshit into their peace, and they don't want it. So if you're not bringing peace, you're not the one they want to talk to. So you're off. You know, there's
and that exactly. I get that. I totally agree with that. And just like it goes both ways for men as well. Vice versa. Like I said, for us with relationships, I'm like that now these days with relationships, friendships, family members, all that stuff. It's like, hey man, keep that shit over there.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I had a friend, a family member's like, "Doesn't it bother you that you don't talk to me?" I'm like, "Not really."
Exactly.
The last time we talked, it was all BS. Like, I'm good. That's what did your friend said? He's unbothered.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He say, man, Dee is so unbothered. So I said, pretty much. Much.
When you look at the world and you've done the work, you can sit back and you can look at things and go, I don't want to get involved with that. Maybe I can help with that.
One more time. We'll bring that back so the people in the back can hear it. Oh. When you've done the work.
When you've done the work, yeah. And people like, well, how do I get to work? I'm like, get a book, get a therapist. Like, you can go online and do therapy now. You don't have to tell nobody. You can do it in your bedroom. Nobody knows nothing. You don't have to tell people.
I mean, honestly, let's just be fair, folks. When you want change, you're going to inflict change on yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to pick that mirror up and you're going to work it. Yeah. You're going to pick that chisel up and you're going to work it. Yeah. If you want change. But if you don't want change, it's going to be a repetitive cycle of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, people will go to the gym to get the abs, but they won't go to the psychologist to get the trauma gone.
Pretty much. Yeah. Martine says,
I find that there are so many dudes who prefer to text. They don't want to converse, not even face to face. Yeah.
That's weird. That's weird. I love it. Here's the thing. It's so funny. I built this conversation platform years ago on having conversations with women. Mm-hmm. I enjoy talking to women. Honestly, I do. They don't have to be physical. Doesn't have to be anything like that. I just enjoy talking to women.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to them. I learned a lot from them, to tell you the truth. Over the years, I've learned a ton. What are you laughing at?
I was Mark's next comment. I started laughing. Sorry.
I've learned a ton from over the years, and I just enjoy healthy conversation, man. So
Yeah.
even with the texting, if I find I have a friend who actually texts a lot, I don't want to do all that texting, man. I have a conversation with them, pick up the phone, call.
Yeah, I'm
Things
not
get
a.
misconstrued through the text and misunderstood and everything. Hey, pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
I'm not saying drop by, but pick up the phone and call.
No.
Go
So,
ahead. What Mark said?
pull up Mark's comment. It says, Miss Marty Girl, even Doc Dream you didn't read. Perhaps your dream guy doesn't cook. Is that a deal breaker, aka unrealistic expectations? What happened to opposites attract, yin and yang? Yeah, you know what I mean? It's
That's interesting.
no him cooking it in a do. Okay, they're just talking amongst themselves.
Oh, they're talking about
Play around the kitchen together. Yeah, they're having a conversation with themselves. But yeah, it's when we're looking for that other person, we need to do our own work first. We need to find out how we like to love, how we like to be loved.
Exactly.
How
For the folks just coming in, talk about that list. I want you to talk about that list again because I think that's very important for people to actually understand that and know exactly when they're writing these lists out. When we're talking about this is what a person should have, this is what I need, this is what I want. All these this list of things, your expectations.
Yeah.
What should they be doing with those lists? What should they be doing with the list? You said it in the earlier part of the show.
When you're making the list, the first thing you have to remember when you're making the list that you are a whole being and that no one will make you happy or give you validation. Because what will happen is it will just fill a void momentarily, and then you'll need to fill that void again. So when you make your list, you have to make the list of things that complement you versus complete you. If you're thinking of somebody that completes you, then there's some work that needs to be done. Right?
Exactly. Because when you think about it, man, when you put a list down, you put the list down everything that you want. That stuff that you see within yourself, folks.
Yeah.
I want chest to have perfect abs. Her lips have to be very full.
Yeah, like I've seen some lists that are very shallow.
Very shallow.
I'm like, that's not a person. That's a picture in a magazine that's been airbrushed.
Exactly.
You know, like, what do you
and
mean?
let's go back to, and a lot of these lists are made up these days. Honestly, you got to go there. With a ton of women that I've seen make these lists up, they're huge reality TV watchers.
No.
Huge.
No.
I knew you were going to say no, but come on.
They're not, because we're taught in university, we're taught in high school. That's the thing. That's what girls do. We make lists of what the perfect guy. We've been doing it since we were in high school. That's
But okay, I got you, but I mean, come on.
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Okay, that's fair enough.
I know some science.
So you saying that was injected in these young girls at a very young age?
Oh yeah.
Making this make-believe list up?
Disney.
Because that's what it is.
Disney. Look at Walt Disney with the princesses. Finds their prince, lives happily ever after. He always looks the same. Every prince looks the same if you look at all the Disney princess movies.
Exactly.
That's where the biggest part of it is. It's society. This is what little girls are taught. Like it used to be, you went to university to get your MRS.
Yeah, but at some point, as you come of age, you have to know that stuff is not real.
Society pushes what? Even now, you look at dress codes in schools.
Right.
Where girls' dress codes are strict because a shoulder could stop the boys from learning, which tells you right there that the girls' learning is not as important. Society is very one-sided when it comes to it. When you look at school dress codes, if you look at school dress codes in only the person that is affected can learn, you see automatically that girls are not considered as important as boys. Right? Everybody, even when you watch these gender reveal parties, you'll see men get upset that they're having daughters over sons. You know what I mean?
That's kind of weird, though.
Yeah,
They got a couple of comments there.
it's because boys are what's it? Tall, dark, and handsome, slender, the Disney prince. Yeah, and the Disney prince isn't even dark. They're all white. So I don't know where the tall, dark, handsome comes from because none of them are dark. Unreal expectations assume levels of control that we don't have in situations. We feel disappointed. Expectations haven't been met. Part two. Oh, sorry, part one to my comment that was read. Often we shop without a list. If you go grocery shopping without a list and you're hungry, you'll pick up stuff you don't want.
Pretty much.
Right?
That's deep. That's true.
Yep.
That is true. You'll pick up something you do not want and something you normally don't eat. Yeah.
And
That's
what was TLC? Stick to the waterfall. Stick to the lakes and the rivers that you know.
Don't chase waterfalls.
But
don't go chase the waterfall.
Don't go chase waterfalls. Yeah, because it's interesting when you look at lists, and even I have a list. Like I found a list because I keep paper for some odd reason. I keep paper. I like keeping paper. Right. So I have found a list in one of my address books from like 20 years ago. And I was like, man, that is a messed up list. Like I looked at my own list of like, dude, what was I thinking?
Was it shallow?
It was very shallow. It was very shallow. And I did date those people that met that list. But it's interesting to look back at what we think we want before the work and then what we want after the work.
Right.
So they're two different. It's a totally different list.
You know what's so funny? I saw a comment that Joker Dog placed in the conversation. It's a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. He talked about what he was looking for when that she had to be cute, had to be this. And it got me to thinking. I'm like, wow. Even at that age, men and women still think that.
Yeah.
Think that way. Which is unfortunate. But service is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Well, remember
service won't get you anywhere.
Well, remember what I said that it's so common that women, when diagnosed as severely ill, that they're dumped by their husbands.
Yeah.
You know, it's people who need work to do are very harmful to others.
Right. There's more comments.
No, I'm just trying to follow they're just following the conversation. They're just having their own conversation. Yeah, so when we talk about lists, we should look at lists a little differently. Look at lists of what you want your relationship to be like, what the person in that relationship should be like, instead of like physically what the person looks like, because you may have 6'4" on the list and fall in love with Mr. 5'9".
Pretty much.
Like I have a friend who had a list, and like she was very specific. He had to be 6'1", dark brown eyes, dark chocolate skin, worked for a finance company, blah 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 blah. She married this 5'11", bearded redhead who has a construction company, who worships the ground she walks on.
Is she happy?
She's ecstatic. I tell people like, well, what are you looking for? I said, well, I'm looking for my Gomez Adams, and I'll be his Morticia. And they're like, what? I'm like, if you have never seen the Addams Family,
right,
you need to pay attention to how he treats his wife. He's loving and respectful and adores her, and she's loving and respectful and adores him back. Right? It's interesting to watch how people don't realize that how you treat people in the beginning is how you should treat them always.
Absolutely. Totally get it. We should be worried about folks who's actually presenting us with lists, folks. You have to do this. You have to wear it this way. You have to do it this way. You got to be worried of those people, because 9 times out of 10, those people come with a ton of baggage.
Yeah.
So even before you accept the list, and work your way down that list, you might want to think twice.
Yeah, Martine says, I make lists for the stores and for things I need to accomplish. I may not get all of them, all the items on my list either. That's why I skip pages in my notebook so that when I look back over the list.
Good stuff.
Can you bring up Mark's?
Mark.
It's just because his is always at the bottom, and the way the light hits it, I can't read it.
Gotcha.
Impulse buying is done on the regular. These lists that are often unrealistic seem to come across as wants, not needs. Yeah. Perhaps even emotional over concrete in how each gender describe their list. Yeah.
That's true.
I would have to agree with you. Oh my God. Better buy a lottery ticket. This has been like 2 weeks in a row, man.
That's good stuff.
Too often lists are great, but if you look at the list and go, maybe that's not exactly maybe that's what I want, versus in like a physical, oh my God, look, versus what you actually want in an actual relationship.
Right.
Like, sure, it's great to have eye candy, but if they're dumb as a doorknob and can't communicate, you got a pretty rock standing next to you. You might as well go buy a tree.
That's right.
You need what is it? You need to understand who you are fully to make a true list. Okay?
Exactly.
Like,
again, I'm glad you brought that. Go ahead.
Like, you can say, I want somebody who loves sports.
Right.
But what you really mean is I want somebody who loves football. Because you may find somebody who loves sports and can't stand football.
Pretty much.
You know? It's like, I love sports, but I hate watching basketball. That would never work for somebody who loves watching basketball. There would be argument. That would, there's things that have to balance out. So you have to be specific and not as general as most people are. The height, weight, eye color. You know what? When it comes down to it, I look at it this way: if that person was in a horrible disfiguring accident, would you drop them because they no longer look that way? If you would, then you need to redo your list, because you need to be eliminating looks, because your expectations of people remaining the exact same way throughout their entire life is not. We age.
Exactly. Let's get to the meat. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the topic here. Me personally, I truly believe that folks limit themselves when they create these lists.
They can.
They limit themselves when they create the list because you didn't box yourself in.
Well, it depends on what you put on the list.
Yeah.
Like there's a difference. There's a difference of a list between honest, integrity, loyal, respectful, funny, smart, likes to read.
That's a list.
So there's that list, and there's a list that likes to take me shopping, likes to go on trips, likes to hang out at the club, is 6'4", 189 pounds, curly black hair, worn in a high whatever style, blah blah blah. It's
And then again, folks, when someone's walking up giving you a list like that, it's time to place in your doubt, pick up the red flag, back away slowly, because there's a whole bunch of baggage behind that list.
Yeah. And then there's the whole I'm a firm believer that, like, I think Mark said you change your list every 5 or 10 years. I think it should be like every other year. Because when you're doing the work, you change. Like, who you are in 5 years is completely different than like even 10 years. There should be a whole lot of growth between those two times.
Totally agree.
And it's just people change, and you have to be understanding of that the person that you have on that list is going to change too. Okay? There may be things that happen in their lives that cause them issues. There may be medical issues. There may be family issues. They may, you don't know what the future brings.
Exactly. Honestly, my list totally changed. Nothing on that list for the 30-year-old Trent that wrote out a list in my head. Totally different. Totally, completely different list.
Yeah. Like I know, because my military thing, I know guys who would fill a list, but because they are missing a leg, they no longer fit this list of specifications for some people.
Right.
Like some of the nicest guys going. I don't know why my light's doing that.
Pretty much. Look like these guys have a wonderful conversation there.
Yeah, they're all on their own over there. I'm sure a lot of women want a Vera Wang wedding dress. If you can't afford it, abort mission. Perhaps folks just aren't in touch with reality, too high strung. They're missing out on Mr. UPS and Mr. FedEx. Listen, man, UPS drivers get paid a lot.
They sure do.
People laugh at the UPS drivers. They get some good change. They're always working a lot, but yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but not Mark. That's really a solid comment because, yeah, that's true. That's real true.
Like you'd be surprised when I talk to a lot of people, and the people who have the most fulfilling relationships are not the people with the most money.
Mm-mm.
It's very often because a lot of their relationships were based on love versus transactional relationships. Unless those people who have money married young and then made the money together.
You know, it's so funny. I'm glad you brought that up. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we're talking about a mutual friend. And I was like, man, he looks so unhappy. And she was like, yeah, but she looks very happy. I said, that's a one-sided relationship. Somebody's losing that relationship. I said, why you say that? Mm-hmm. He's not smiling. So somebody's losing in that relationship. But that relationship is transactional, mm-hmm. in my personal opinion. But he's losing in that relationship. In every photo, you're not smiling at all. But she's showing all 32. She's getting what she wants. Mm-hmm. But are you getting what you want? Mm-hmm. I see a ton of relationships like that.
Oh, yeah. There's lots of them. And a lot of people will look what Instagram and Facebook showing. What Instagram and Facebook showing is very often not what's really going on.
Exactly.
So lots of people are very photogenic and take excellent pictures. So don't believe what those little photo snapshots are showing, because very often it's very different than what's going on in the background. Like there is
2-minute videos and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Like recently there was was it last year, beginning of the year? There's a well-known life coach. She wrote us all a book about, like, her whole book was relatability, and then she put out like a TikTok on her maid and all that stuff, and and her house cleaners, and people are like, that's no longer, you're not relatable when you talk about your housekeepers and your maid and everything. Exactly. And she's like, well, I'm not expecting to be likable or relatable. I'm like, your whole brand is about relatability. Like this other lady who knows she was getting divorced, but then put out a book on relationships. And then after that book was out, and after she'd done some book tours, then put out another book about getting divorced. I'm like, so you knew you were divorced the whole time. People don't like when people are being inauthentic.
Right. Man, we live in a superficial world doing superficial things.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Authenticity should be on your list too.
Yeah, exactly.
And transparency. Exactly. Yeah.
At the top of the list.
Yeah. Because I know people who are really good at lying by omission. They're not necessarily lying because they're not telling a lie, but they're not telling the truth either.
Right.
So it's Lanye made it. Hey, Lanye.
What's going on, Lanye?
Yeah, it's I should have wrote a list should. I should have brought a list. I didn't write. I don't have a list currently, so it's. But yeah, it's.
But on your list, what was your list consist of?
Back in the day, oh my God, it was shallow as heck.
Not back in the day. I'm talking about now. Like, give me
now,
3. Just give me 3 from your list.
Emotional intelligence. communication, and compassion.
Okay.
Those are 3.
Mine would be passion, communication, and self-care.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Because and there should be integrity, self-awareness.
Confidence has to be in there somewhere too.
Yeah. Well, confidence and relatability, respectfulness.
Right.
Authenticity. There's so many people. When you're meeting people, you meet their representative. Remember we talked about that a couple months ago? As 6 months before you meet them. And people don't if you want to know somebody and really know them, drop the whole mask. Just be yourself. If they don't like who you are as a person, you're just wasting 6 months. Right? Why waste 6 months? Time you don't know what's going on 6 months down the road. This could be you could
think about this. Think about this though, right? Think about this. When folks are presented with the list, if they're really into that person, they're gonna try and work that list. They're gonna work that list.
Yeah.
That's dishonesty in itself right there.
Yeah.
Years ago, I know I used to work those lists.
The list should be a guide, not a mandatory thing. Don't go off the list. Don't start ignoring red flags because they match the list. Because I've seen that happen too. People have
exactly
he needs everything on the list. I'm like, girl, he's got 3 baby mamas who he doesn't take care of any of his kids.
She's not seeing that list though. She don't see the superficial
list.
The superficial lens cover that up. The superficial lens cover that up. They don't see that list. They don't see it. Oh no, they don't see that. They don't see those flaws.
Yeah.
That's flaws all over the board, but they don't see it.
That's like a friend. She's like, "Oh, I think Nick Cannon's so cute." I'm like, "Sweetheart, he has babies 1 month apart from each other. Come on."
And let's clear this up real quick though. And I'm gonna say, so I'm probably gonna get in trouble for it, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But when you actually dealing with folks, say what it really is, man. Don't cover it up. Just say what it really is. If it's gonna hurt our feelings, hey, bruise it a little bit and move on and carry on with it. But don't lie to it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's it.
Honestly,
but most people get offended and say you're so rude, you're such an asshole. No, I'm being honest with you. You don't want me to be honest? You want me to lie to you?
Well,
I'll tell you the truth.
I can give classes on how to politely tell somebody about themselves.
But if you don't like something in the early stages of a relationship, just say it.
Yeah,
knock off the I'm trying to impress you and all. Come on, man. Life's too short for that. You're gonna get this work either way it goes.
Yeah. If you can't communicate, then no matter what your list is, you can find the perfect person on the list. If you can't communicate, you might as well just toss that list away.
Exactly.
It's not going to work. If you don't know how you like to be loved, throw the list away because it's not going to work.
Hey, Tammy, I see what Tammy Gator is saying.
Because my 3 are communication, communication, and communication.
That's true.
Communication is important. What's it? Communication, big on self-care has order. Creative, authentic, fun, spontaneous, fly, and clean. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly. That's true. So again, my 3 is, like I said, you have to be compassionate. Have to. Self-care. Communicate. That's the top 3, man. But compassion's at the top of my list.
Yeah.
Because this is what the world needs. This is what individuals need today. To walk them through their pain, you have to have a little compassion to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have some type of compassion.
Yeah. A lot more people are finding their voice finally, which is good. So we need people to listen and acknowledge. And when somebody tells you their story, believe them. That's don't dismiss what somebody's telling you about their experiences, because that means they're not being heard and you're no longer a safe spot, so you'll get dumped.
Exactly. Martine says,
I let guys know when I'm not romantically attracted to them. I won't hang or keep going out with them either.
Honesty.
Yeah.
That saves a lot. That saves a lot of headache on both ends of the spectrum. Honesty, man. Just say if you're not into it, you're not into it. Just keep it moving.
Yeah.
Just keep it moving. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't have to be beef or the stain, bad taste in your mouth. If I'm not interested, I'm not interested.
Yeah, don't waste your time and don't waste their time. People will get
Exactly.
more offended that you wasted their time than you've been honest with them.
Exactly.
And it's, there's no reason to lie.
At all.
Just because when you lie, you have to make stuff up. Just tell the truth and you're like, you know what, this doesn't work for me.
Spiritually. Oh, here's the list again. What's she saying?
Spiritually in tune, not cheap yet frugal, able to have quiet moments.
That's very important.
Yeah.
Able to have quiet moments is very important. A lot of folks actually take that and be offensive to that as well, because I love a ton of quiet time. I love it. Sometimes I'm accused of being standoffish or anything. Yeah, it could be, but I enjoy spending time alone.
Yeah.
That's why I center myself.
Yeah. And I'm an ambivert, so I can be extroverted when it's a safe space to be extroverted, but I recharge when I'm on my own. Like that's when I have my own time and quietness. Like my son is Mr. Extrovert is the exact opposite. I often see that unrealistic expectations are fully in use around the dating pool. 90% of communication is nonverbal, which I often say it isn't the key. Yeah.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I like going out to dinner by myself because I love to people watch, and it's so much fun to watch people watch like prime dating time. Thursday, Friday evenings, dinner time. Like people watch. Oh my God, that's the best time because you'll see lots of people on first dates. And you see people who are uncomfortable with themselves, people are comfortable with themselves. You can tell just from the body language things are going badly.
Exactly. Look like it's 2 minutes before the hour. Let's get to the teachable moment real quick here. Again, Shann will be back next week. She got a little bug going on. She had a little coughing, so I didn't want to bring out the Lysol on her. So get well soon, Shann. And
we did all right without her. We were able to get the comments done.
We did. So make sure you're drinking that tea and all that good stuff. But to the teachable moment for me is don't limit yourself with your life's goal. This is what I'm taking from this. Don't limit yourself with your life's goal. Place your expectation on yourself. It should be high above anything else. If your expectations are anything, it should be on yourself. Going to you with your goals and what you're looking to do to succeed in life and self-preservation, all that good stuff. This is what your goal. Dealing with yourself first, then you won't expect anything from anyone else.
Yeah.
So that's the actual goal. Go ahead.
Yeah, expecting you from others will only lead to disappointment.
That's it.
It's true. And anybody thinks when you think about that, what I can say is when you write your list, make sure you know who you are and what you actually want in a relationship versus a person. Because all kinds of people can fill lists, but not everyone will fill that relationship.
Exactly. And what's most important is something you said at the beginning of the show. When these folks, when you guys are writing these lists down, and I'm going to say it, especially women, when you guys are writing these lists down, look at each item that you write down, pick that up and grab your mirror and ask yourself, why is that important on your list? And 9 times out of 10, you're going to come up with your answer. And then walks not the inward mirror, but in walks the stand-up mirror.
Yeah. And think
that's
about
when life begins.
Yeah. And it sounds pretty morbid, but think about this. When you look at your list, if that person was in a disfiguring accident, would you still have that same person on the list? If that list changes because somebody has been hurt or gotten sick, then there's something you need to tweak that list.
That's some ample work that needs to take
So
place.
last 2 comments. Can you bring up Mark's comment?
Yeah.
Understanding and sometimes overstanding is a more useful tool. I can tell my significant other I went to Magic City, yet she may not have heard for the wing plate. Sir. Well, here's one you want to throw men for a loop. I did it once just for fun, just to see the reaction. I sent a plate of ribs to a man. I paid for them myself, sent them over to him at a restaurant, and then he just sat there like he did not.
Oh, I think I lost it.
I don't know why my camera's flashing. Yeah, and it's interesting. Like, have fun when you make your list. Have fun when you go on dates. Not everybody will be the person or your person. Yeah, you figure out what you're looking for. Maybe look towards somebody that you might not have thought of.
Exactly. Last comment for the night. We'll get out of here. It goes to my favorite Detroiter, Martine. 1 sec.
Be just as dope as you expect the other person to be. Yeah.
Boom.
That's it.
That's it. So that's a good one, man. It's a really good one. Actually, Shann, like I said, get well soon, drink a lot of tea, and get those bugs out of there before you actually come calling me and infecting me. But good stuff, man. Good stuff. As always, Dee, these topics, these thought-provoking topics that you come up with. Actually, this is your topic, so.
Yeah, it was.
I was just here assisting, that's all.
I like lists. I like going over people's lists. It's fun.
And for the viewers, really appreciate you guys making the transition with us. It's been long nights for me, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, transition everything to the new platform. But it's work, but hey, when you pray for double, you get triple, and a whole bunch of stuff go with that. So I'm welcome to challenge. I welcome the challenge. So that's good stuff. Real good stuff. Taylor Kennedy TV is the spot for the conversation as well. And we look forward to actually servicing you guys with a ton of stuff that I can't announce on the platform now, but we're still working on some stuff behind the scenes. So good stuff. This fall is going to be very exciting, very exciting. So until next week, Blacks, until
Wednesday.
Wednesday. What is today? Sunday, right? Yeah,
Sunday.
Wednesday we'll come with another thought-provoking topic, and we'll be live. We'll do another live, and it'll be up on the platform for you guys viewing or on the podcast, Apple Podcast. So you guys take care. We'll see you guys on that side of Wednesday.
Good night.
Conversations with Trent in conjunction with Taylor Kennedy Media and your radio network would like to thank you for calling in and listening to tonight's episode. We hope that tonight's conversation offended you just enough to turn your mirror inward to come back for more. So until next week's conversation, be epic.